let's just create the UK and Germany quite quickly. And we can do this, we should be able to just kind of copy paste this and make some changes. Again, this is just some of my formatting stuff. I just want to make this bold. Actually, before we do this, I want to add in one thing that I often do, and it's going to be a check field. And all right, so as you work with these spreadsheets over time, it becomes easy to accidentally kind of hard code a number in and maybe kind of mess something up but not really notice that it's messed up, and it could cause you an issue down the road. So I always add in just this simple check kind of calculation where I'll pick one of the aggregation categories and I'll say, okay, for this to balance, it's got to be the beginning inventory plus whatever's received minus whatever is sold minus the ending inventory level. And that needs to equal 0, and it doesn't. So let's make sure sorry about that, I chose the wrong. Okay, so it's going to be ending inventory level plus whatever's received up here minus whatever is sold minus the ending inventory level. There you go. That balances out. We'll drag that across. And then we'll just sum all these up. So if there happened to be an error anywhere in any one of these cells, we should be able to pick it up through this type of a kind of check function. Okay, good. Now I'll just make this green. All right, so that completes there. So that took a while, but a lot of the foundation I think that we need should be built now. So let's just kind of copy, paste this just to speed things up, and we'll build out our other locations. Okay, so I copied and pasted everything we just did, and we're going to make this the UK. And for them, you know what we'll do? We'll give them a different finished good. We'll give them a 25 count. So all these cells should get updated automatically. Then we just need to change how many tablets are in each of those finished goods. That gets changed. We're going to need to add in standard cost for these two finished goods. So this will be the UK 5 milligram 10 count. And we'll do the UK 5 milligram. All right, and we'll, just to make things a little bit different, we'll say the price for this one's a little more expensive, and we'll say this one is, and we'll leave these all in US dollars. So now we have our standard cost. So what we do need to do is update our inventory value rows for the UK finished goods based on these different standard costs. So we'll do that. Okay. So this is going to be nothing more than whatever the inventory level is, and we'll adjust all that stuff in a minute. Okay. And we'll drag those across. So now we've got our updated inventory value calculations for these two SKUs. But we want to make some changes here, so it's not just a straight copy paste. So we're going to put in new demand for these because obviously it would be different. And then our starting inventory levels are going to be different. All right, so just to make up some demand numbers, we'll do the same that we did before. We'll use that random function. And we'll say this is a really high runner. This is between kind of 10,000 and 25,000 in any given month. 1,000 and all right, so now we have forecast made up for these two finished goods. And then we'll just get rid of the formula so now that it's static data. So let's start off with some inventory levels. So we're going to say this first one, we'll say both of these are in relatively short supply. So you can see basically everything that we had built before automatically updates. So you can see we're at 0.1 month of cover and 0.7 months of cover for these two finished goods. The conversion should be working based on the total number of tablets in each finished good. And then the API conversion will be working based on the total number of tablets multiplied by the grams per tablet, and then all of the operational success rates and yields. And let's change our inventory coverage here. So let's rewrite these formulas, at least in one case, so you can continue to see how this would work. So we'll say the first one, since it's a high volume, we're going to run it at 1 month of cover. So we frankly want this to equal the following month's demand, minus the starting inventory level plus sales. And again, that was our inventory balance equation just solved for receipts with the goal of ending at 1 month of cover, which you can see now it does. So again, I want to go back and correct for that situation where we'd be running high inventory levels and it would want to bring in negative inventory. So as long as this is greater than 0, we can use this formula. Else it's 0. Okay, so we're all set. So you can see once we had the first thing built for the United States, we were able to duplicate that for the UK relatively quickly. Now it was really quick because in this case I said we're just going to have 2 SKUs as well. If we set this up where it used 3 or 4 or 5 or some other number, then there'd be a little bit more adjustments that we needed to make. But that made it pretty straightforward. But again, I just wanted to kind of keep this moving because probably getting a little bit bored of seeing how we do some of this stuff and want to get into more of the upstream operations. But just for completeness, let's also model Germany, and I will leave the SKUs identical, and I'll just change the standard cost for the German SKUs as well as the demand and the starting inventory levels. But we can do that pretty quick. Okay. So again, we need to add the standard cost for these two German SKUs. We'll make these a little bit different. So again, it's going to be nothing more than the ending inventory level for that particular bucket multiplied by the standard cost. We'll freeze the cell. And then we'll drag this across. So that takes care of that for Germany. So now the only thing that's going to be left is, let's give ourselves, and we'll keep the inventory targets the same, but we'll give ourselves new demand and new starting inventory levels. So I got to delete those contents out. We'll type something new in. And again, you'd be using in the real world, real values, right? So you'd be using the forecast that came from your forecasting department, and you'd be using the starting inventory level based on your inventory reporting systems. So to get us numbers, we'll say Germany is a relatively small market, which we know isn't the case in the real world, but just to keep things different, we'll say this one's a little more volatile. I'll just copy and paste the values again so that it's static. And then we'll make up random starting inventory levels. So 2,500. So you can see in this case, we're running really high inventory levels. So the model is going to zero out any receipts for quite a while until we get down here to our target inventory levels. All right, so at this point, we've gotten through modeling the finished goods at the 3 different country distribution centers. And it's time to start to model the packaging steps. So I'll try to move through this relatively quickly, but it will take a little bit of time to get through.